Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and today I'm back with something a little bit different, and I think you guys will really enjoy this video. So, as you know, in the past couple of days, I've been uploading the battle videos from the Premier Challenge, which I attended in Brooklyn last weekend, and up to this point, I've already made it to the finals. And so, my finals was actually streamed, and my opponent was Jon Hu, who is actually with me in person here today. John's from Indiana, so he's not really from the area. That tournament Premier Challenge was really stacked, had 61 plus players in Masters, I think 13 which had qualified for Worlds, and John's actually a Worlds competitor himself, got top 4 at US Nationals in 2014 and made it to day 2 last year. So both of us up to this point had made it through Swiss, so we both went 5-1 I think?
Yeah, 5-1.
Yep. We were both 5-1, both won top 8 and top 4, which were best of 3 sets, so now we were sitting in the finals. And yeah, John's actually still in the area, so we decided why not just co-commentate it live together. So the battle was streamed at twitch.tv/LibertyGarden, which if you don't follow, by the way, definitely check it out, because they're going to have some really great streams for the New York, New Jersey area. But yeah, we have the VODs, and we're basically going to commentate our mindset going into the finals. And I think it's a pretty unique experience, since typically these commentaries are pretty one-sided. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please let me know by giving me any feedback and sharing support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And yeah, any comments or constructive criticism would also be great. So this is a best of 3 set, so we had to win, 2 games of the 3 in order to win the tournament, and John and I do have the videos, so we're gonna basically commentate them right from team preview and go from there. So I guess to start off, you should tell them about your team.
Okay, so what I brought to this tournament was Ho-Oh, Rayquaza as my 2 restricted Pokemon, and then I also brought Lapras, Togekiss, Mienshao, and Klefki.
So definitely a pretty unique team.
Pretty unique.
Yeah, John and I have pointed out, I think it was pretty cool to see a finals where I had Palkia and he had Ho, since early VGC 2016, you're seeing a lot of the combination between Xerneas, Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza. So, now we are in team preview, and before we actually start the video, I'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on John's team. In general, it was very unique and very different from what I've already practiced against and what I've seen, especially the Klefki, the Mienshao, and the Lapras. I think all 3 of those were pretty interesting and unique picks, so I didn't really know how to deal effectively with them. And I figured that Groudon would be really good, bar the Rayquaza, so if we could shut down Rayquaza, then Groudon could really kind of sweep through. And so that was kind of my strategy. Amoonguss didn't seem like a very strong Pokemon to bring when he had Rayquaza, Ho-Oh, Lapras. It really didn't help out too much against all of those. And so I felt like a combination of Groudon, Landorus, Kangaskhan, Palkia, and Cresselia could be helpful, but the main thing was, do I want to set up Trick Room? How fast are his Pokemon? I think in Game 1 I definitely wanted to go with the Trick Room approach and just figure out what movesets and items he had.
Okay, and then from my side, I noticed straight away that he's carrying a lot of Trick Room indicative Pokemon in Amoonguss, the Groudon with Cresselia and Palkia, which Palkia and Cresselia both pretty commonly carry Trick Room. Palkia not so much as Cresselia, but the Cresselia is a pretty big giveaway for that. I'm also fearing Gravity, since Cresselia and Palkia can also learn that, and paired with Groudon you can get a lot of good Precipice Blades, and I can't stop it, because under Gravity all my flying Pokemon would be susceptible to the Precipice Blades. And then finally, as a big threat, I'm looking at the Landorus. Its Intimidate ability, plus the fact that it gets Rock Slide, really is a bad matchup for the team that I'm running, which has a lot of rock weaknesses. And Kangaskhan is just Kangaskhan, so if I don't stop it, it's just going to run me over. So basically my win conditions here are to keep Ho-Oh or Lapras alive long enough to deal out the damage, maybe get a few burns with Sacred Fire onto his physical attackers, and then just wall out the rest.
Definitely. Yeah, so I mean, I guess we can just get started with the game, but I end up actually deciding to lead, I think, with Cresselia and Groudon, because I figured I could punish you if you bring anything that's not like a combination of Rayquaza, Togekiss, and Lapras.
I think you lead Landorus Groudon, wasn't that it?
Oh, yeah, excuse me, that's right. Wow, you totally caught me there.
I think that's what he left.
Yeah, he's right there. But the idea was to go more on the offensive spectrum, because I really had no idea like what team combination you had was really strong against me. So I was like, you know what, we'll just test things out. But I was a little bit sad to see that you had Rayquaza on Togekiss, because I was like, okay, Groudon's not in the best of positions right now.
Alright, and then I decided to lead that because Togekiss and Rayquaza is actually a really solid combination, because after you Mega Evolve with Rayquaza, Togekiss loses all of its flying related weaknesses.
Yep.
So it becomes pretty much a pure fairy type with a levitate ability,
yep.
innate. So it's really good in that sense. Also, Togekiss provides the follow me redirection support, and Rayquaza can get off really big attacks onto the opponent.
Yeah, so this first turn, I'm already like, okay, this is not a very good position because Rayquaza can, immediately choose to just Mega Evolve, and then I won't even have my Sun Boost ability. I don't know what kind of Rayquaza you're running at this point, which was, that's one of the things I wanted to find out for in the best of 3, and I really didn't feel like I had that many great options. I figured, I can just try to go for some damage with a Rock Slide and a Flamethrower. If I get a flinch, that'd be pretty fortunate as well. But already I'm playing from a pretty poor position, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try to get more information out than anything.
Likewise, I didn't really know what kind of set his Groudon was, so here I reveal what kind of Rayquaza I am. I'm actually the special variant carrying Earth Power. And so I just go straight for the Earth Power to see if it picks up the one-hit KO, and it doesn't because it's a Trick Room bulky variant. So that's good information for me. I at least do a lot of damage to the Groudon, and because of Delta Stream, his Rock Slide now doesn't do that much.
Yeah, and I was not expecting to see that Earth Power. I was like, wow, that's not good for me.
Unfortunately, I flinched there. I would have taken out the Groudon with Air Slash, but whatever. Things happen.
Yeah, so I didn't really have a game plan, honestly, from that first turn. I was like, I'll just play it by ear, figure out what moves he uses, and go from there. Which, isn't the best of ideas, but in a best of 3, you have a little bit more breathing room, so I was like, just getting any information is good, and finding out that he had Citrus Berry on Togekiss and finding out that he's special was good. And so this next turn, I decided that he might want to target down my Landorus, and indeed, you do go for the Draco Meteor.
I checked to see if it is Assault Vest, and if it can take the Draco Meteor, which it does. Not well, but it takes it, and that's all that really matters here, because he decides to explode on me.
I remember John's reaction. He was like, wow, yeah, that's a thing. And yeah, I figured that would be the perfect move for me this turn to bring things back into my favor, because it'll eliminate Rayquaza, do a lot to Togekiss, and I felt like it was relatively unlikely he was going to protect with both Pokemon. So it works out perfectly in my favor there. Pick up the knockout onto Rayquaza, and that does mean that Togekiss is now back to Flying type though.
Yep, back to Flying type and doing nothing as usual.
Yeah. So for how the lead matchup went, I think me getting that flinched on the first turn was definitely pretty fortunate, and then getting the explosion off and it working out was great. And I'm pretty happy because the bulk of my team so far has really been integral in both Groudon and Rayquaza surviving.
Yeah, that's something that when I was considering Rayquaza was that I'm picking up a lot of OHKOs because right now everyone is being hyper offensive, and so they're not really investing in the bulk. But Aaron has made it spread so that they can take these super offensive attacks that I'm throwing out, and so that kind of puts me behind when I'm attacking with Rayquaza, because I'm expecting to pick up OHKOs.
So I end up bringing Kangaskhan here just because I know I have Fake Out Pressure, so I can Fake Out either of your Pokemon. Kangaskhan was also faster than the rest of your team, bar the Rayquaza, so I figured since I've eliminated that, it's a pretty good time to bring it out.
So this turn I actually do Air Slash Groudon again, because I can't allow it to get off attacks anymore than it has already done. But he does make a good switch into Palkia, and that kind of sets me back, as if I had predicted that instead and went for a Thunder Wave, I could have maybe done something else here. But he does decide to Fake Out my Ho-Oh, which I was expecting. Not much you can really do there, because I can't really do much to Kangaskhan right now.
Right.
If I paralyze it, then I can't burn it the next turn, and if I Air Slash, that's damage, but it's not really meaningful damage. So that's what happened this turn.
Yeah, so it was a relatively even trade there, but I was pretty happy since my Groudon's still around, get Palkia in relatively safely. And Palkia being as bulky as it is, at this point I know that Kangaskhan threatens both your Pokemon with Double Edge, and then Palkia can Spatial Rend. But one thing I was a little bit scared of was that actually my Palkia had no way to touch your Togekiss, so I was like, okay, I need to make sure that at the end game I still have a way to deal with it. But this time I actually go for the Double Edge, and I think we were both a little bit surprised.
We were both a little surprised we picked up the KO, and I was actually testing that out, because I think in testing I usually take that, so it might have been a roll. I'm not entirely sure, but I was just thinking about how, well, if I follow me and then his Palkia has Hydro Pump, he's going to hit me with it, so I can't really avoid this damage anyway.
Right.
Might as well get damage off my Togekiss. But then he reveals that he has Spatial Rend and not Hydro Pump. So now at this point I'm thinking, maybe his Palkia doesn't have meaningful ways to hit Ho-Oh or Togekiss, really.
And, that's pretty accurate since my fourth move actually was Earth Power. And the reason why you saw the Spatial Rend there was because I did double up into Ho-Oh, just because I wanted to eliminate that. And his last Pokemon being Lapras, I was pretty content with, because I felt like Kangaskhan right now did a pretty good job. But I still had to be a little bit careful, because like I mentioned, I didn't actually have a way to knock out his Togekiss with my Palkia.
So here I protect my Togekiss because I want him to Double Edge into it, and if he doesn't, well, then I lose. But the win condition here is that I can take out his Kangaskhan with my Lapras, and then using Togekiss redirect all the other attacks away from it. But as you see, Lapras isn't very offensive if you're not hitting for super effective damage. So, you know, it's whatever. Also, Aaron's choice of Earth Power was kind of interesting. I was thinking he would go for a Spatial Rend instead, but maybe he just wanted to hit the Lapras for damage instead of maybe missing a 5%.
Yeah.
Spatial Rend.
Yeah, I mean, Spatial Rend probably would have been better there at the time. I was just like, you know, figure out what item he has, make sure I get the 100% accurate, maybe get a special defense drop as well. But after seeing how little damage it did, I was like, he's got to be Assault Vest. So at this point, I was a little bit scared that you maybe had Ice Shard and that it would actually knock out Kangaskhan, but I was like, Lapras is really not offensive.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking I was going to pick up the KO with Ice Shard, so I went for the Fall Me to protect my Lapras, which is now my win condition.
Right.
But Lapras is not under Trick Room right now. Aaron's pretty smart in that he didn't set it up because Lapras is actually slower than all of the restricted Pokemon, I think, naturally. So under Trick Room, Lapras is a pretty good check to all the restricted Pokemon. And they can hit all those primals for pretty good damage. So I get a useless crit there. It didn't matter, but now I'm face down with 2 restricted Pokemon, and I'm slower than both of them. It's not going to be a good time.
Right. And at this point, you know, I'm pretty content. I think for how the lead matchup looked, like I really didn't think I could do much with my Landorus and Groudon, but the flinch in the first one to Togekiss helped out a little bit, and then the explosion was really the key thing. Eliminating Rayquaza like that was huge. I figured, like, no, that will allow me to bring me back into the game since Kangaskhan can kind of sweep from there or just deal huge amount of damage. But it was also really good to note that Jon's Lapras was slower than my Palkia, so I figured both Palkia and Groudon would outspeed him. You know, good information to know, but it also makes the future 2 games a little bit scarier because I know that Jon can actually use Trick Room against me should I set up Trick Room at any point. So the Lapras here really scaring me because of the Assault Vest. You see how little damage I'm doing. You know, it's still well over 50% even after a Spatial Rend and an Earth Power from Palkia. But, you know, I know at least for game 1 I should be able to seal it up here.
I think the commentators were actually thinking Lapras would outspeed Groudon or something, and upon rewatching it, I was like, I don't know about that. There's not much reason to invest speed into your Lapras here, because then you're losing all that bulk investment or the offensive investment that it really, really needs because it's pretty weak. But yeah.
Yeah, and so I end up winning the first game of the best of 3, 2-0. In general, I was pretty content with how I played, but I really thought my lead matchup was not the smartest of decisions. Like, I thought I could have handled Rayquaza and Togekiss a little bit better, but it was also after you led with that I realized, like, wow, I don't have great answers to it, and really have to just, like, maybe get a little bit lucky, maybe, you know, make some plays, like, catch you off guard, but I figured that was a pretty safe lead for you, especially without, like, any electric-type Pokemon on my team to help me out there. Amoonguss isn't doing too much. Landorus' Intimidate, I realize now, isn't doing much because you are the special variant. Yeah. And that's a pretty big game changer since that Life Orb Draco Meteor basically nukes everything on my team, bar Cresselia. And so, yeah, going into game 2, I was like, you know, I guess Cresselia might be a decent answer against those 2 Pokemon. You know, I don't have to rely on
Trick Room and then underspeed it.
Kind of go from there. And so that was kind of my strategy going into game 2. But after game 1, yeah, I mean, I was like, that was a close game, and Jon can easily make the right adjustments, and if RNG went a little bit differently, like, I probably...
Might have been different, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the roll onto the Ho most likely to, like, had he survived, maybe got on a burn there as well, so... You know, it's always great winning game 1 in a best of 3, but you know you have to still play really well in order to seal it up, and especially against a Worlds caliber player like Jon. So, this is it for game 1. Hope you guys enjoyed this commentary, and we will be back with game 2 shortly, so keep your eyes open for that. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, like always, and we'll see you next time. Alright, peace.